this is, I apologize, this is a bit small to see, but who I am is flawed and unlovable. Self-validation says I'm deserving of love and acceptance. Shame says my feelings are unacceptable. Self-validation says my feelings are as legitimate as anybody's. Shame says my dreams are foolish and not worthwhile. And self-validation says I have the right to treasure and honor my dreams. When self-validation doesn't fully develop, we get to this place that we talked about, that we began with, looking at the symptoms of shame-based trauma. We have reoccurring feelings of self-doubt, chronic inability to maintain feelings of satisfaction and contentment. I call it chronic discontent. It's something feels good for a while, and then it starts to not feel as great, and then we don't like it, and then we move on, and we get on that cycle of where we keep trying new things, till ultimately you get to a very discouraged place, like why try anything, because it's all gonna go to not feeling good before long. A wavering, unstable sense of self-purpose and direction, difficulty in maintaining lifelong primary relationships and or career, feeling as if you are an imposter. When the self can't develop fully, then you begin to feel as if you're acting as if something else. Splitting by being one way in public and significantly different in private. When we can't self-validate and we need to be dependent on the validation of others, when I'm in front of you, I am what you want me to be. And when I'm in front of someone else, I'm what you want me to be. Because I need that validation to be able to contain the shame. And so I move from situation to situation to situation, seeking the validation. And the result is this kind of splitting behavior that we see, where we are one way with one person and another way, can create incredible havoc in relationships. A recurring need to escape pain through addictions. The committee in our heads, I love this analogy because I think it's really relevant here. Without the ability to self-validate, the true voice of the self never develops, and we become a victim to the changing whims of the committee in our heads. It's a great analogy because if you think about when that voice, when that real root, when that solid sense of core doesn't develop in you, you're at a whim to, well, you know, you might do it this way. And then you've got someone over here saying, well, I don't know if I would actually do it that way. It might be misinterpreted. And then you've got the voice over here saying, yeah, but you really need to make money, and this is the way to do it. And you go back and forth. And it's just like a committee. And any of you, every one of you in here sat on a committee, right? And the worst thing in the world is to create something by a committee. Really. The great mistakes of the world have been created by a committee. Truly. It doesn't work. And this is what's going on in our heads and in our clients' heads often, because we don't have that voice. There is no chairperson of the committee. There's no one coming to the board table saying, okay, here's the agenda, here's what we're going to do, here's our long-term objective. Now, let's all organize around that. Now, whenever you've been on a committee or a team or whatever, you've had a manager that's done that, it feels good, it feels containing, and you can actually get somewhere. We need someone to set the stage and to say, this is the path, this is okay, this is how we're going to do it. And yet, for so many of us in our heads, we can't even do it for ourselves, because we're caught in the quagmire of these voices across the table in our head. I'd do it this way, or I wouldn't do it that way. Back and forth it goes around, without the ability to self-validate. It wasn't until I was in my early 50s that I realized that I'd lived most of my life believing my opinion wasn't as important as some other people's. It served me well in the corporate world. I was always the guy who wouldn't push back, rolled up my sleeves, and got it done. Only thing is, now I don't really know what my opinion is. What do I really care about? Direct quote from a gentleman who had made it to the top of one of the Fortune 100 companies. I haven't a clue about what I'm going to do when I grow up, and I'm more than grown up. It seems like no matter what the job or how good it is at first, it eventually becomes drudgery. How many times do we hear that and see it?